You know South Korea for its cutting-edge technology and modern culture. But what if I told you this country is literally disappearing? South Korea's total fertility rate is expected to drop from 0.78 in 2022 to 0.65 in 2025, meaning this country is shrinking faster than any nation in modern history. The country has the highest suicide rate among the 38 nations that make up the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and more than 2 out of every 5 deaths among teenagers are by suicide. In this video, you're going to discover the darkest secrets of one of the world's most advanced societies, where progress comes at a price few are willing to pay. Get ready to have your entire view of South Korea completely transformed. When we think of South Korea, images of impressive technological innovation, futuristic cities, and a thriving economy immediately come to mind. But behind this facade of modernity and success lies a reality that rarely reaches our eyes. A society in deep existential crisis, where the pursuit of perfection is literally killing its people. What you're about to discover will shock you. South Korea isn't just a developed country facing common challenges. It's a nation in a desperate race against its own disappearance, where every aspect of life is shaped by social pressure so intense it transforms dreams into nightmares. Let's start with the most alarming fact of all. The number of people 65 years and older reaches 10.24 million, representing 20% of South Korea's population, officially making the country a super-age society. But that's not all. In the worst-case scenario, the fertility rate could drop to 0.59 births per woman in 2026. To give you a sense of what this means, a population needs a fertility rate of at least 2.1 children per woman to remain stable. Many schools are closing across the country due to lack of school-age children. Imagine this. A country so technologically advanced that its own schools are shutting down because there aren't enough children to study in them. We're talking about an unprecedented demographic collapse in modern history. But why did Koreans simply stop having children? In South Korea, there are reasons behind the decline in births, including demanding work cultures, stagnant wages, rising cost of living, and skyrocketing housing prices. The answer lies in the most competitive and ruthless social structure that has ever existed in modern Earth. In South Korea, there's no room for mediocrity, no acceptance of good enough, and definitely no forgiveness for failure. From the moment a Korean child can hold a pencil, they're inserted into an educational system that can only be described as a human pressure machine. 12 hours of study per day isn't the exception, it's the norm. 10-year-old children are already competing fiercely for spots in prestigious schools, knowing that a single exam could determine the rest of their lives. The Korean educational system has created a generation of young people who are academically brilliant but emotionally devastated. Statistics Korea reported that the increase in suicides among young people aged 10 to 24 is a concerning trend since 2011. We're talking about teenagers, people who should be discovering who they are, already contemplating suicide as an escape from unbearable pressure. But wait, because it gets worse. Even those who manage to survive the educational system discover that adult life in South Korea is even more ruthless. One example involves the pressure and competitiveness in the job market, where residents compete for scarce jobs offered by industrial conglomerates because they're better paid. The chaebols, these gigantic conglomerates that dominate the Korean economy, have created a system where only a small elite gets truly well-paid and stable jobs. Imagine living in a society where your choice is basically to be extremely rich working for one of the big conglomerates or struggle to survive in the parallel economy. And here's where the situation becomes truly desperate. Korean families are literally drowning in debt, trying to maintain a standard of living that's financially unsustainable. Many South Korean women say they simply don't have the time or money to have children. The shame of financial failure is one of the main causes of suicide in Korea. It's not clinical depression, it's not mental illness. It's literally the shame of not being able to keep up appearances in a society that measures human worth exclusively by financial and social success. And speaking of suicide, let's address perhaps the most shocking aspect of all. South Korean government statistics show that 13,352 people took their lives in 2021. Suicide is the leading cause of death among South Koreans aged 10 to 39. In 2022, suicide caused more than half of all deaths among South Koreans in their 20s. You read that right. More than half of Korean young adults who die kill themselves. This isn't a normal statistic. This is an epidemic of despair. More than 2 out of every 5 deaths among teenagers are by suicide. We're talking about a society where teenagers are choosing death in alarming numbers. Gangwon has the highest suicide rate compared to any other geographic region in South Korea, concentrating 37.84% of cases. Entire regions of the country are being devastated by this silent epidemic. But perhaps the most disturbing data is about the elderly. The elderly in South Korea are at the highest risk of suicide. Relative poverty among senior citizens in South Korea has contributed to their high suicide rate. Due to a poorly funded social safety net for the elderly, many see themselves as an economic burden on their families. The situation is so desperate that we have young people killing themselves from academic and social pressure, adults killing themselves from financial failure, and elderly people killing themselves for feeling like a burden on society. It's a complete cycle of despair that spans all ages. The country's rapid economic growth, without proper expansion of public services, has led to growing inequality in a society where individuals are valued only for their economic productivity. South Korea achieved one of the most impressive economic transformations in human history. But this transformation was made by completely sacrificing the mental and emotional well-being of its population. The result is a society where human worth is measured exclusively by external metrics, grades in school, salary at work, social status. There's no room for individuality, genuine creativity, or simply being happy with an ordinary life. And here's the most frightening aspect of it all. Other countries are starting to follow the Korean model. The ultra-competitive educational system, the extreme work culture, these elements are spreading to other parts of Asia and even to the West. The most tragic thing about all this is that the very thing that makes South Korea impressive to the outside world, its ability to produce advanced technology and innovative products, is precisely what's destroying its people from within. Every technological innovation comes from the work of people who sacrifice their mental health for corporate success. South Korea has become a technology factory that operates by transforming human beings into disposable products. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of all is how this pressure perpetuates itself through generations. Korean parents, who suffered under this system, continue subjecting their children to the same treatment because they genuinely believe there's no alternative. They see the country's external success and assume that suffering is simply the necessary price. Entire generations are growing up believing that human worth is determined exclusively by external achievements. There's no concept of self-acceptance, no valuation of peace of mind, no recognition that a simple and happy life can be more valuable than an extraordinary and miserable one. The economic system has created a situation where human insecurity itself has become a profitable industry. Korean society literally profits from people's inadequacy with themselves. And here we arrive at the crucial question. Is there hope? The answer is complex. On one hand, the Korean government is beginning to recognize the gravity of the situation. Mental health programs and social initiatives are being implemented. But on the other hand, these are bandages on a wound that's been bleeding for decades. Real change can only come from a fundamental transformation in how Korean society defines success and human worth. This means rejecting the notion that people are valuable only for their economic productivity. It means creating space for individuality, creativity, and different types of success. But this change is extremely difficult because it goes against decades of cultural and economic conditioning. How do you convince an entire society to slow down when they believe that stopping means being left behind? South Korea's case serves as a dark warning for the rest of the world. It shows what happens when economic growth and efficiency are prioritized over human well-being. It shows how social pressure can become so intense that it literally destroys people's capacity to form relationships, have children, or simply enjoy life. More importantly, it shows how the external image of success can mask an internal reality of profound suffering. When we look at South Korea from the outside, we see technology and prosperity. When we look from within, we see isolation, pressure, and despair. The question we must ask ourselves is it worth it? Is it worth having the world's most advanced technology if it means your people are killing themselves? Is it worth having the most efficient economy if it means families are destroying themselves? South Korea is at a crossroads. It can continue on the current path and watch its population literally disappear, or it can make the courageous decision to redefine what it means to be a successful society. The world is watching, and many countries are involuntarily following Korea's example. If South Korea can find a way to maintain its innovation while restoring the human well-being of its population, it could become a model for a different kind of social development. But if it continues on the current path, it may become a historical example of how a civilization can reach the pinnacle of material success while simultaneously destroying its own soul. The choice is in the hands of the Korean people, and the consequences of this choice will reverberate not only throughout Asia, but throughout the entire world. Because in the end, the secret side of South Korea isn't just about South Korea. It's about the future of humanity in an era of technological pressure and extreme global competition.